Yes, guys, welcome back to another video here on Area X Talks Boxing. I am joined by the one and only and a prominent figure in the influencer boxing scene, Gio. How are you doing today, bro?
Hey, I appreciate that prominent figure. That's probably
Yeah,
the nicest thing I've ever been called. So yeah, I
100%,
appreciate
bro,
it. Yeah,
100%.
been quite busy recently, but things are starting to calm down a little bit now. So yeah, all good. Glad to be on.
Yeah, good. So I just want to start off by saying, how did you get to where you are today? Was it through like creating content? Was it through video editing for like big YouTubers? Like, how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I'm a video editor. Right now, I work with Logan, Logan Paul. Formerly, I worked with True Geordie. So me and True Geordie worked together for 4.5 years. But my career pretty much started when way back when I was in school. I was always like sort of fascinated with YouTube, and YouTube is in its infancy. I would make sort of like videos here and there. And then my idea was to work in the film industry. So I went to college, I went to university to study film. But whilst I was at college, because I'm originally from Blackpool, which for those of you who don't know is a town in the northwest of England, and it's also the place where Blackpool Grime Media. Are you familiar with Blackpool Grime Media, Little T, Afghan Dan, all those? So they sort of kicked off around the same time. So I was in college studying film with the idea of going to work in the film industry, and then BG Media became a big success, and these commentary YouTubers sort of like Will and E and people like that were making videos on them. And then I realized I've got a link to these guys now because I didn't really know them, but we were able to go and film videos for them. So I became close with Afghan Dan. We did loads of videos for him. Through that, I was able to bring Afghan Dan to meet Will. And then I sort of had a few links in the industry, but the same goal was to work in the film industry. So I went to university in London, and whilst I was there, I realized I kind of don't want to work in the film industry because ultimately it's kind of carrying equipment for 5 or 10 years until you find a break, or you've got to sort of like confine yourself to a niche. And what I realized is, whilst I was at college, I did this fantastic media production course in Blackpool Sixth Form, who they gave me the opportunities to basically be as creative as possible. They basically gave you a brief and they said, make a music video, get into groups, you've got 2 weeks to do it. And they gave us so much creative freedom. And that's when I realized like I have a true passion when it comes to being creative, editing, things like that, putting these things together. And I was like, I want to kind of do this as a career. But obviously I can't just stay in the college. So YouTube is actually like the perfect sort of like bridge for that. So I realized I didn't want to work in the film industry whilst I was at university, and I wanted to edit videos. So by that point, I made a decent amount of connections in the scene, people like Will and E, people like Memulus, and I was a big fan of the True Geordie podcast. So one day I was going back home on a train, and Brian True Geordie tweeted out, "I'm looking for an editor to help me on a series that I'm starting." And with that thinking, I just kind of replied with the documentary that I had made on Afghan Dan whilst I was at uni. He hit me up. He was like, "I like your work. Let's do something together." So we started a series called True Life Stories. We did 2 episodes of that, one on Conor McGregor, one on Kanye West. And I was in my second year of uni at this point, so he was pretty much like, yeah, let's work together as like, you could be my editor, we'll get you on full time. So I finished uni, went full time with him. We worked together for in total 4.5 years. And then more recently, I left that job because I was kind of like, I've done it for 4.5 years now. I want to be able to explore different paths and whatnot. Me and Brian are still on great terms. We still speak quite often. And I was lucky enough to land the Logan job. I just applied like everyone else, did a few test edits, and managed to get that. So I guess that's how I got where I am. I've always been a fan of the YouTube boxing scene. I've been there since the start. I went to KSI, Joe Weller, things like that. So yeah, I guess that's sort of a shortened origin story.
Yeah. That's good to know as well that you were like one of the OGs of BG Media back in the day. So that was massive before, wasn't it? That was
That's the
huge.
thing. It kicked off in Blackpool before anywhere else because I was obviously into YouTube, but I didn't care much about YouTube because my focus was the film industry. So when BG Media starts kicking off, I'm realizing that, hold on a minute, this Will and E guy from Newcastle, who at this point was just growing, he was just starting, is getting millions of views talking about people that live around the corner from me. So then as me and a few friends on the media course were like, let's go and do videos for Afghan Dan, and we did a documentary on him. We did all these things for him. So that without BG Media, I don't think I actually would have entered the YouTube scene, which is weird, but yeah.
Yeah. No, sick story though, a quality story. Um, yeah, so moving
Appreciate
on
it.
to like Misfits now. What has been your favorite Misfits event and why?
Without a doubt, it has to be Misfits 4. I think there was so many exciting things that happened on that card. Obviously, it was JJ's most definitive and best finish in a while, or ever actually, against Temper. Obviously, Salt Papi getting that miraculous left hook and knocking out Josh Bruckner in the second round. The Pineda entrance. I mean, there is nothing that could have prepared anyone for when all those lights went down. They played the Undertaker music and then they hit the mariachi music, and it was just perfection. Yeah, honestly, it was being there live. I was lucky enough to be there live, and it was the screams. Like, it was wild. Like, I don't think that Misfits realized their power to be able to create stars like this young lad who can barely even speak a word of English, who has had a rough life, who has been out boxing in Mexico. He is now this huge star over here. So it just shows the power that this scene and Misfits have to be able to create that moment for him. Obviously, El Brook managed to get a great finish on that card, and obviously the war between Slim and Ryan Taylor. I just feel like fight for fight, there was so many exciting moments that happened on that card, and there was great finishes too. So for me, that's number one. But obviously, like Misfits one's a close second. But yeah, so many great moments.
Yeah, I agree, man. Misfits 4 was insane. Like from start to finish, even the first fight with Idris Virgo and Anthony Taylor, insane. So yeah,
Oh, of course.
definitely my favorite.
Yeah. It had a bit of everything. It had a bit of everything.
Do you think Misfits 7 will top that or not?
The bar's set very high. Obviously, JJ spoke recently about some of the exciting things that haven't been sort of disclosed yet that is going to make Misfit 7 stand out. And to be honest, they've done things in the past that have been a bit speculative with, like the tag team boxing and other things that have proved to be huge successes. Even the idea of a mystery opponent at first kind of confused me. I was thinking, how, like, the person that's fighting the mystery opponent doesn't know who they're facing, and it seemed a bit gimmicky. But then obviously when it happened, it was such an exciting moment. So they have the name value. Obviously, you've got Salt Papi on there taking on a big test. You've got JJ on there, Deji on there. Obviously, the prelims, which I'm excited about, with Wings of Redemption and Boogie. But will it be able to top 007? As I say, the bar's set so high, so it'd be a struggle, but it has all the potential if the right things happen.
100%, man.
Yeah,
this is going to be quite tough, right, to think of on the spot. But what has been your favorite walkout of Invincible Boxing?
Oh gosh. Oh no! Without a doubt, it has to be when Pineda and B Dave walked out for the tag team. Just the two of us when they walked out, and he had the luchador mask on. I love that. I was watching that from home, and I was thinking, this is just encapsulates what the scene's about. It's not. It doesn't need to be taken too seriously. It's just these two guys who they can't even communicate with one another. Like, one of them just speaks English, one of them just speaks Spanish, but they're brought together through this sort of like wild gimmick that was tag team boxing that proved to be a big success. So yeah, probably that walkout. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Pineda's for when he was the mystery opponent. I think that was really good. And there's a few to be fair.
Of course.
There's as well
the
like
mariachi band.
Yeah, KSI's versus Pineda, I think, as well, on when he came out to like his own song and Logan Paul was in the crowd. That was like amazing as well. So there's been a few really good walkouts, but yeah, that one with
and obviously, really, so it was against Swarms where he walked out with Nico in the Prime Battle, wasn't it?
Wait.
That was a good walkout.
Oh,
as well,
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The crowd was electric because it was JJ's first walkout since obviously the Logan fight. So there was a lot of energy in the crowd at that point. But yeah, there's been quite a few good ones.
Yeah, quite a few. What would you say is your men's top 5 pound for pound influence boxers in the scene right now?
Wow. So I'm gonna do this in no specific order. Men's top 5. It's difficult,
Yeah, I put you on the spot, to be fair.
I'd probably go. So my top 5 would probably be Logan, JJ, Jake, without a doubt. They have to be in the top 3. And then probably Salt Papi, obviously because of his technical ability. And the last slot's a bit of a difficult one, but it probably have to be Gib. I'm sort of like juggling between Gib and Slim, but I just feel like because of Gib's recent performances and how good he looked against Austin McBroom, I'd probably have to give him the edge. And obviously, I love Slim. I think he's a fantastic fighter. He has a lot of power, but he's not looked like the best in his last 2 fights. And obviously, he was lucky to manage to get the win in those 2. So I'd probably go with those. Yeah, Logan, JJ, Jake, Salt Papi, and Gib.
If I asked the question, maybe skill for skill instead, do you think that list would change? Maybe put in like a Dean or Waleed instead of maybe a Logan in there?
And that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because obviously, like, Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because obviously skill now has become a thing that is talked about quite a lot. But for me, when it comes to skill and ranking these pound for pound fighters, it's like because the level of skill is so wide. I mean, we aren't talking about like the top of the top. It's really easy to rank pound for pound heavyweight boxers, professional boxers, because they all are relatively on the same level. They've all been training for relatively the same time, so you can debate, the likes of Tyson Fury and Wilder and Joshua. But when it comes to the influencer boxing scene, the spectrum of skill is so wide that it's really hard to rank these fighters like that because then you'd put like Idris Virgo and like Anthony Taylor and people like that in. And then obviously they're far more experienced, far more skilled than a JJ, than a Logan. So yeah, it's a tricky one. I don't really, to be honest, I've been on record saying this, like skill is not that important when it comes to this scene. And I feel like people prioritize it too much, and especially when it comes to like, I don't mind making these sort of when people have their own pound for pound lists, but for me, it's redundant because there is just so many factors, and then people get vicious with each other on Twitter. You see it all the time. Oh, wait, hold on. Why you put so Papi there? Gibbs done this, Gibbs done that. And sometimes it can be quite like, well, it doesn't really mean anything because the skill is so wide, it's not that important.
Yeah, I agree, 100%, 100%. And who would you say is the queen of influencer boxing right now?
Probably El Brook. Yeah. You know what? Naturally, I would say Elle Brook because of how easily she was able to beat Faith. However, I feel like the best performance that I've seen in female influencer boxing so far is Barbie against Whitney. I think she looked the most technically well-rounded. She obviously utilized that right hook, the right uppercut very well, multiple times. She had great movement, great distance control. She's very quick as well, and obviously she's huge. And I think she gives people problems. I think she definitely gives Emily Brooke problems in the semifinals. And I feel like it would be a very, very tough match for Elle. So my knee-jerk reaction was Elle, but I'm actually going to say Barbie.
Interesting one, interesting one. Yeah, it's going to be good to
Yeah.
see what happens with Barbie, like with the next fight now, and like will she win the tournament? So it's going to be interesting to see. But
Probably. She's probably my favorite to win the tournament so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. What are your predictions for Misfits '07? First starting with Salt Papi and Anthony Taylor.
It's a tricky one because obviously recently we've had the controversy with it only being 3 rounds, and I feel like that actually favors Papi. We haven't really seen him. We have never seen him go past the third round. He only did 3 rounds with Papi, 2 rounds with Brook, 1 round with Worski, 2 rounds with Bruckner, and we obviously know that Anthony Taylor has the experience to be able to go and push through. It's really difficult for me to give a prediction because I'm so on the fence with this. Obviously, I think if it goes 5 rounds, I would actually lean towards Anthony Taylor based on his experience. And Sol Papi has very, very vicious and passionate fans, and people don't like it when you suggest that he, maybe is a little bit overrated, because that's not me having a dig at Sol Papi. I just do believe that he's overrated because we've only seen 5 rounds of him fighting. And obviously, he went 3 rounds with Ham, which he looked decent in. 2 rounds against Josh Bruckner, where he managed to get his best finish, obviously. And then obviously against Worski, who wasn't really like that skilled at all. So it's only sort of 5 rounds of data that we have. To be able to then put him on this sort of pedestal as being this guy that can go pro and all these different things, in my opinion, it's a little bit preemptive. So it's a really difficult one for me to pick. But because of the rounds, I'm actually leaning towards Sol Papi. And that's only because the thing is, Anthony Taylor can take a shot, but Papi just has a different power to the people that Anthony Taylor's fought, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
I think it's a close
I
fight.
agree.
I had some people that were talking to me on Twitter about it being, listen, Sol Papi can play with his food and he's basically going to end it whenever he wants. And I'm like, you don't really understand the level like these guys are on. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, Sol Papi's here and Anthony Taylor's here. Like this guy's fought in Bellator. He's had wars. He's been in there with Tommy Fury, who couldn't finish him. And you feel like Sol Papi's going to be able to finish him easily. It's like, it's not that. Sol Papi may do that. He may knock him out in the first round, but it's not, that wouldn't be expected. It's far closer than what people think. And I just wish it was going to be 5 rounds. It's still annoying that it's also only going to be 3 rounds, but it's how it's landed.
Yeah, no, I agree though. I think the fact that it is 3 rounds does favour Salt Papi, but I think anything past that, I'd have to favour Anthony Taylor because he has the experience. He's been in there with Tommy Fury. He sparred Jake Paul, and I think he may have sparred Logan as well. So with that experience alone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this makes this fight very interesting and closer than what people think. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Deji versus Swarms. Who you got there?
I feel like Deji has far more experience than Swarms. Respect to Swarms for losing a lot of weight. However, we've seen in influencer boxing quite often when people shed down and lose a lot of weight, it doesn't really work out for him. And especially against Deji, we saw Fusu do the same thing. Fusu went on keto, whatever he did, he trimmed down massively. He looked amazing, but in the fight, he didn't really have it. You know what I mean? We saw the same. He's a good friend of mine, but Ham lost a lot of weight. He didn't look himself against Ginty. Just because you've got some abs now doesn't mean that you're going to be this tough fighter. He got very lucky against Ryan Taylor. He looked terrible against JJ. Deji has only gotten better and better. And I don't think the Deji that fought Vinny Hacker, that lost to Wasabi, is here anymore. I think we've got a new style of Deji that's, you know, his head movement's great. He's got good speed. He's working with Daly. Like, in my opinion, Deji's levels better than Swarms. And I feel like Swarms may have been a bit gassed up after his win against Ryan Taylor, but he isn't on that level. And I feel like Deji's probably going to make it look quite easy. And it's probably going to end in a similar way to the JJ fight was, you know?
Yeah, no,
So
I agree.
I'm Deji 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we get the same Deji that fought Fusu, this fight is not going to last that long. That's what I think personally. Yeah, so
Yeah.
what's your prediction then for the main event, KSI versus Joe Fournier?
Without a doubt, KSI. There's nothing that I really seen from Fournier, although he's a 9-0 boxer and he's won a WBA title or whatever it is, that really poses any threats to JJ. And I feel like, to be honest, I don't really know if this confidence is true from Fournier. Like, you hear him speaking in these press conferences and these face-to-faces, and he's sort of talking as if like he's not been training and all these different things. But I feel like he's just happy to be here. You know what I mean? I feel like he's happy for the opportunity and he's talking the talk, but he's not. I don't think he's going to be able to deliver in the ring. And I feel like JJ is a formidable opponent for anybody. I feel like the pressure that he brings, obviously the experience that he's managed to build over the past few years, to beat Logan, to beat Temper in the way that he did, to decimate Pineda and Swarms both on the same night. The level of experience, in my opinion, favors JJ. And yeah, he may have a decent jab. What's his name? Fournier. He may have some decent, movement in the ring. But does he have anything right now that would cause JJ more problems than Logan did for him? Absolutely not. And obviously, as soon as that first bell goes and JJ just starts doing what he does, throws technical ability pretty much out the window, hits his behind a jab and throws those big overhand rights, I feel like one of them are going to catch Joe. He's going to go down probably in the first or second round. And yeah, I think he's going to hurt him. JJ's got power. That's one thing you cannot take away from him. He has gas tank, he has power, and you can knock him out in the first 2 rounds, or as the fight goes on, I see JJ being able to use that gas tank that he's got, and Fournier just being able to, obviously his age is going to play a factor as well. He's just going to get worse and worse. So I don't see a path of victory for Fournier.
Yeah. I think the fact that like Alexis, KSI's coach, said I'm gonna see the best KSI ever, like we've ever seen, just straight away favors like KSI is gonna win for me. I think he did great against Temper. Obviously, people give him a bit of slack because he did get caught with a few left hands. But then people have to remember that Temper, his reach is insane. And JJ really had to get on the inside. And obviously in like combat sports, to get on the inside is difficult, especially when you're fighting like a rangy fighter. So I think, yeah, if you are going to see the best KSI, like Alexis said, then this fight won't go past 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, and I just don't believe it with Fournier. He's speaking a lot, but I just don't. There's just something about him where I go, if you lose this fight, like, you're not going to carry on doing this. Like, you aren't actually passionate about it. You clearly aren't. And if he's being honest about like not, sparring and things like that, then it's going to be a very quick night for him.
Yeah. And a final
but I admire the confidence, though. I admire the confidence.
And a final prediction then. This isn't happening now, but in August, in the summer, we've got Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Who have you got in that fight?
I'm probably leaning towards Jake Paul because naturally he has been training boxing primarily for much longer. Obviously closer to the fight than Nate Diaz has. Nate Diaz, people don't realize this if you aren't an MMA fan. I haven't followed him for years, but he is primarily a boxer. Like, that's where his strengths are. He's had some good submissions and he's very, very tough. In my opinion, obviously, Jake's had more of the in-ring boxing ability and experience, and I feel like he probably just edges it. Although I think it's going to go similar to the Anderson Silva fight. I don't think he's going to knock him out. I feel like we're just going to see Jake's technical ability that he's managed to build over the past few years really give Nate problems, and I think he's going to land some big shots. But we know that Nate Diaz is a zombie, and I think it's going to be a difficult night for him. But I see Jake winning a decision there.
Yeah, 100%. I just think literally it's simple. Based on the fact that Jake Paul did like definitively beat Anderson Silva, I just don't see how Nick Diaz can do anything, to be honest.
Yeah, obviously he's a decent striker, but he's not, he isn't the kind of guy that is knocking people out, and he never really has been, he's accurate, he's quick, he's unorthodox, and I think that's maybe going to cause some problems for Jake. But then again, Jake is only a new fighter, and he can knock people out, so we'll see.
Yeah, brilliant. And there we have it, guys. Thank you, Gio, for this interview. Good luck with everything you're doing, man, and hopefully I'll see you at an event soon.
100%. I'm going to try and get to Misfits 07. We'll see. It's only down the road for me, so yeah.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
My guy. Said a bit.